I'm delighted to be talking with Dale Beaumont from Business Blueprint. Hello, Dale.
Hi there.
Good, thanks for joining us. Now look, we're going to talk today about 5 tips for an effective website.
Yep.
So why don't you just dive straight in?
Okay, so number one is to capture details on your website.
Okay.
And that really, I think, is the number one goal of a website. Because you've got to basically assume that 98% of people that land on your site are gone and they're never coming back.
Okay.
And if you want proof of that, just think of all the websites that you visited in your life, probably somewhere between 5 to 10,000 websites. How many of those have you visited a second or a third time? It's
very,
probably
very few.
less than 2%.
Yeah.
And so the same thing's happening for you. Most people are leaving and they're never coming back. So the number one goal is to collect some form of details. The traditional way is a name and an email address.
So get some permission to have some ongoing dialogue.
Some ongoing conversation. And now you can even connect in other ways, such as Facebook or Twitter or a LinkedIn. So there's many ways to connect. But the main thing is you need something to then grab people's details. And then from there, it's much easier to build that relationship over time. You don't have to continue to spend more money on marketing to get those same people to come back. And normally, we've got to give something of value in order to get those details, not just subscribe to my newsletter. That's a little bit, 10 years old.
Last century.
We've really got to give away something that's really going to benefit them and not just you.
Okay, so first thing, capture some details. Have something there that's going to capture those
Absolutely.
details. Okay, point 2.
So number 2 is to make sure that you have keywords on your website. Now I understand that's a little bit of a technical term. What are keywords all about? Well, really it's about getting outside of your head and the words and the language that you might use to describe your product and service. And sometimes we use kind of funky and clever language to stand out from the crowd and differentiate ourselves from other businesses. But oftentimes it's completely detached to the words that people are actually searching for in order to find your product and service. And I was with a guy who was a mortgage broker in Perth, and his website was called Financeability. He took the words finance and ability and joined the two together. Now that's a kind of cool name for a mortgage broking company, but who is searching for a company that they've never heard of before? Maybe a handful of people at a networking function that you might have given your card to, but there's 1.8 billion people that are on the internet and no one searching for a term that they've never heard of.
So you're saying it's imperative not just to have keywords, but also to have them in our domain name if we can?
In the domain name, if you can. Otherwise, to build multiple pages, and you want to make sure that each page on your website targets a different keyword. If you have too many keywords on the one page, Google gets a little bit confused. And so what you want to build over time is multiple pages. But if he was to relabel those pages to, say, Mortgage Broker Perth, he'd get a much better result than a word which no one's ever heard of before. So you've got to think in the mind of someone looking for your information.
What language are they
What language are they using?
Okay, so point 2 is to have some keywords. Put yourself in the position of the people that are actually looking for your products or services.
And you should be talking to your website developer. Normally they just are paid to build a website, so they really don't put anything in the keywords category. Maybe they put your company name, but that's kind of it. So make sure you get some specialist advice and talk to your website developer, and make sure you identify what's the main keyword you want to target on this particular page, and then that page is optimized for that keyword.
Okay, cool. Point 3, tip 3.
Point 3 is to make sure that you have a database. A lot of people think that it's just about having a website, but I think a website is like rowing a boat with one oar. You're going to go around in circles. So if you want to have a good web presence, you have to back it up with having an equally good support database. So when someone's details are collected on the site, there's an autoresponder that's received to acknowledge that the relationship has taken place, and then to follow up over time. And you can do some really cool things now with things called lead routing. So if you have a number of leads coming into your website, you can sort of ping those off to different staff that you have, whether they be here or overseas perhaps. Another thing you can do something now is a thing called lead scoring. This is starting to get a little bit technical, but there's cool things you can do in the follow-up process, whereby you might have 5 or 6 follow-up emails go out, and if someone was to open 4 out of 5 emails, it sends an alert to your inbox saying you might want to give this person a call, or you might want to send a personal message.
Suggesting that you've got a responsive person on the other end.
So that way you know who are the people that are taking action and who are the people that maybe just wanted that free information, but really they're already gone. Exactly.
Great point. All right, point 4.
So point 4 is to start split testing different aspects of your website. So you can use a free service which is called Google Website Optimizer, and you can get some code and you can put that on your website, and what it'll enable you to do is to test two different elements of your site. Now, normally what we do is recommend that so you basically have two different versions of your homepage. And so the first person that lands on your site sees layout A, and the next person sees layout B, and then it's A, B, A, B. So if 1,000 people land on your site, 500 will see A, 500 see B.
You've got some statistics as
and
to
you can
how
measure
they behave.
how many of those got to the next step, which was maybe subscribing to your free gift, whatever that free gift was, or perhaps buying a product and service. So that's a conversion rate. And so what you might do is 1 week you would have two different headlines, and you find which one's the winner, and then you run with the winner. And you might spend maybe a month just testing headlines until you find one that's really working. And then you can test, for example, testimonials and try different testimonials, or you can test colors on your website. And over a period of about 3 or 4 months, we've seen instances of websites going from a 3 or 4% conversion to a 25% conversion just by changing those different elements. So when you think about that, that's huge from a marketing point of view, because if you were converting at, say, 5%, and you were spending, say, $10 on a click to get someone to your website, you're actually spending $200 to get a name and email address. That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
So when you increase that to, say, 20 or 25%, you're either now getting 4 times or 5 times the amount of leads, or you can cut your marketing budget by 70% and still get the same result.
Fantastic. Final tip.
Final tip is to make sure you add a lot of what we call proof elements on your website, because it's very easy today, and people know it's easy to put up a website. Anybody can do it, and you could be anywhere in the world. You don't even have to have your name or your face on it, and so naturally people are much more skeptical about spending money online, because they're saying, well, can I really trust this person? Are they actually, is there a person there? Who are they? So having a photo of yourself, having a video on your site, having testimonials and other things that are going to build your credibility, and even video testimonials, they're so important these days, and very few websites actually have them. So you really need to make sure that you putting yourself again in the shoes of the customer, saying, well, who's this person? Can I really trust them? And why should I buy from them as opposed to somebody else? So
it's kind of taking away any negativity, any reasons they may have to hesitate to get into business with you.
And even putting your phone number and address. A lot of websites don't even have their phone number there. They have a form to fill out. And again, they could be anywhere in the world. So by having a phone number, many people won't even call. They will actually just go through an order. But the fact that there's a phone number that they could call shows that they're serious.
And tell me, Dale, most of these you think can be done kind of DIY, done by people themselves, or do we need to be using external contractors? What's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think a lot of these steps you can learn yourself. And
probably good to have a knowledge regardless whether you do it yourself or...
Yeah, absolutely. I think the building of a website should be outsourced, because unless it's an activity you're going to do repeatedly, there's no point learning that skill. But I do think that the maintenance of the site, and by that I mean adding a new page, maybe adding some text or putting a video on, is something that you can learn in about an hour. And now with things like content management systems, and you need to make sure your website has one. As long as you can use Word and you can type text and you can cut and paste, it's
Dale,
not that
fantastic.
hard.
And if we want to find out more about you, we go to businessblueprint.com.au.
I'd
hazard a guess that we're going to be asked to give some details and get something for free.
I've got a free magazine that I have on the site, and so you can subscribe to receive that, and in the magazine there's videos and other things.
Fantastic.
So check it out.
Dale, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. Pleasure.